Delegation rules in the AIFMD are extremely important. They were there to put rules about how you conciliate the fact that you need to have a national regulation of alternative investment manager, and at the same time, these alternative investment fund manager have an activity that by itself is cross-border. Cross-border because you get your investors from one jurisdiction, and your purpose is to invest throughout a certain geographic area. The purpose of the directive, for example, is to allow the investment throughout the European Union. So by itself, the fund that is managed by the manager will have to invest in Spain, in France, in Germany, for example, for an AIFM that is located in Paris, in London, or in Luxembourg. The purpose, and one of the purposes of the rules of the AIFMD, is also to make sure that by delegating some of the functions, the AIFM doesn't become a letterbox entity. When you discuss about how the activity of the AIFM is structured on a day-by-day basis at the moment of the acquisition, for sure a number of diligences, analyses will have to be realized in the country where the alternative asset is. And in that respect, the Alternative Investment Fund Directive is quite different from the UCITS Directive, where basically you do an investment on shares and stocks and bonds which are listed on the stock exchange, so where the necessity to go and look at the asset is different. So how did the Parliament and later on the Commission ensure to have a correct balance between the necessity on the one hand to have a national supervision, a national substance in one country, and on the other hand the fact that the business is actually a cross-border business? It's basically by making sure that the governing body of the AIFM will always be the body that in theory and in fact is the body that follows on all tasks that are delegated. A number of rules will apply, and that's all described in the book, to make sure that at the moment a delegation is made, that there would be proper due diligence, that the delegate has the proper knowledge, human resources, IT resources, has the necessary policies as well to do what the delegate needs to do. If that's one of the core functions, additional licenses will be required as well. And in the context of the review of a delegation scheme, the national competent authorities will have to ensure as well that the governing body of the AIFM in fact reviews what the delegate does, can do it, and for that reason have access at any point in time to their premises, have the possibility at any point in time to terminate the agreement with the delegate. Also, there is a review of the skills, of the reputation of the members of the governing bodies and the main persons who in fact are in charge of following on what the delegate does. There is a review on how much time they may dedicate to it every year. So that's how the AIFM, being located in one place, will be seen as properly having the capacity, the time, and the knowledge to supervise what the delegate has done. This chapter is useful in the context of the current review of the AIFMD, and notably on some questions. The question whether you need at all quantitative criteria on how many people should be localized at the AIFM itself or at the level of the delegate. Personally, I don't think it's a great idea. It would be a great idea if all the AIFMs were doing the same thing, but if you look at the diversity of the type of assets in which they invest, the type of geographies in which they invest, I think that fixing these quantitative limits would not make sense. Also, you may end up being in a position where you will actually set up new barriers for pan-European investment. If you need to have a majority of your resources in one country, so how do you actually go and make the due diligence in the other countries of the European Union? Do you want to promote people taking planes all the time, for example? That's for the first question. Second question that is currently raised by the European Commission is whether you would need to have a catalogue of functions that absolutely need to be discharged from the place where the AIFM is located. And the question is, for example, for portfolio management, if you have due diligences to make throughout the European Union, would you have to send your resources to fly to the places where due diligences need to be done? Do you need to adopt all the investment decisions from the AIFM? Do you want to completely make it impossible for an AIFM to actually delegate the investment decision? I don't think that it's the way the sector has ever worked, and I'm not sure that it would promote an efficient process. I'm not sure either that by obliging people to travel so much that this would be fine from an environmental standpoint or even in a COVID economy. These were just some points that you will discover in the new edition of this book, and I hope you will enjoy reading it.